Alright, guys. So, we will be ready.
My twin brother Chris and I were 9 when we learned.
Now let's watch his. Let's watch this one.
My son wanted to be the next
No, I
Ronaldo.
don't want to watch that one.
My teacher told me to stay back after class to discuss my behavior issues, so I immediately slapped her across the face. She fell to the
Holy
floor and I
detention
covered
right
my mouth
there.
in horror. I'm sorry, miss. I
Detention
can't control
plus
it. You see, I'd had
expulsion
surgery as a
plus
kid. Doctors
suspension.
separated the right and left
Okay,
sides of my
maybe
brain to treat my epilepsy, but it left me with a rogue left
can't go
arm,
to jail.
meaning I physically couldn't control
You
it,
can't
and
go
it
to
did things on
jail
its own
for
without me
assault.
wanting
You
to.
can't
My teacher
go to
yelled,
jail.
"To the principal's office, now,"
probably
and dragged
still
me
get
while I
expelled
screamed it was my
suspended
rogue
or
limb. The
at
principal
least detention.
sighed, "I already called your mom.
The
You
least
can't
he
keep
can
being
get is,
violent
like,
because of this made-up
recess
condition,"
out.
but I punched him in the face before he finished his sentence. He clutched
why
his
would you
nose, and I
punch the
instantly grabbed the
principal?
school trophy off his desk and
Now
hurled
you're
it at his head. He fell
Now
and
you're
screamed,
absolutely
"I'm calling the
dead.
cops," while I cried and begged them to believe I couldn't control it. But then my left arm reached for the principal's
no, you're
prized
good. Why are you
paintball
reaching
gun.
for
He'd
that?
hung
Do
it behind
not
a
reach for
glass
that
as the
paintball.
last thing his father left him,
No,
but I
no,
simply punched
what are you
through.
doing?
The glass
Why did
shattered,
you
and I
smash
grabbed
it?
the
What are you
paintball
doing?
gun and
How does
aimed
that
it at him.
hurt?
My teacher lunged to snatch it from me, but I shoved her to the
Bro, how
ground
is
and
your arm
started
that
going
strong?
Rambo on my principal with
Please
his own
explain how
father's
you shove a
paintball gun.
teacher
I
to the
wrestled the
floor.
gun away with my right
This is
arm, but that's when my teacher
unexplainable.
tackled me.
Oh.
Tears ran from my face as I begged them to believe me, but they yelled, "You're going to prison." An officer walked in and saw my principal covered in paintball and bruises on his face, but I felt my left
His
arm
story
instantly
always
curl into a
lies,
fist.
so I
The
don't think
principal
he is
screamed,
lying.
"This boy is violent. He destroyed
like-
property and assaulted me."
he's
The cop
fake.
went to ask me if this was true, and in response, my left arm punched him
now you're
square in the
actually-
jaw.
that's
He dropped,
clearly
and I
evidence he
screamed,
just
"No,"
assaulted
because
an
I knew
officer.
assaulting an officer
But
meant
you
my
can't go to jail
was
'cause
cooked. The cop got up and
if
immediately
medical
pulled out
papers come up,
handcuffs.
the
I started
cops
crying
will-
as he put my hands behind my back, but that's when the door opened. My mom was panting
the
with a
mom
stack of
probably has the
medical
medical
papers.
papers.
Whatever's happening is not his fault. I have
Yes,
the
the
proof
mom has
right
the medical
here. She
papers.
shoved them at the officer, and
Now
I
I-
backed
now
away
you can
from
see.
everyone so I couldn't hit them. I watched
Bro,
the
you can't
officer's
hit people
face
there.
twist as he
Actually
read.
good.
Then he shook his head in disbelief. This is insane, but this actually stops me from
Wait,
being
did he
able to
slap his
arrest you.
mom?
Whatever your left arm does
was he
is
slapping
legally
his
not
mom?
your
I don't
doing.
know.
He
I
tucked
don't
his
think they
handcuffs
showed
away
it.
and walked out without another word. The principal and teacher went red, and that's when my left arm rose up and gave them the middle finger. My teacher
That was Aura. The middle finger? Okay.
said, "Please,
Oops.
just My teacher told
Let's look at his most popular short.
My twin brother Chris and I were 9 when we learned Morse code. We tapped messages under the dinner table when Mom told us to stop talking and tapped through the wall between our bedrooms every night. When Chris got into a car accident and the doctor said he'd never wake
Morse
up,
code's
I pulled up a
pretty good.
chair next to his bed,
People
took his
can't
hand,
talk when
and
they're
tapped.
like,
"Are you there?"
this is
Nothing. But I
common
came
or
back the
something,
next
I
afternoon
guess.
and tapped again. Before I left, I always said the same thing. "See you tomorrow, Chris." A week later, Chris's fingers twitched against mine, and I almost fell out of my chair. I grabbed a nurse and she barely looked up. Their reflex. It doesn't mean anything. I bought a notebook the next day and started writing down every single one. 4 months in, Mom watched me scribbling and said, "How long are you gonna keep doing this? Until he taps back." He's not gonna tap back. You're talking to a corpse. Dad lasted a few more months before he pulled me into the hallway. "We need to talk about donating your brother's organs."
What?
His fingers moved. The nurses said those are reflexes.
Donating his
Stop getting.
brother's organs is crazy, bro. No, bro. Those parents just want to give up on him. They might only want the money from his donation organs. That's probably what they only want. I think, like, that has to be true. Man, that's crazy, but let's continue.
Your hopes up, son. I don't care what the nurses say. You're not donating my brother's organs. But a week later, my parents called to have Chris transferred to a long-term facility to die and scheduled a meeting to sign the papers. The afternoon before the meeting, I tapped into his palm like always, but this time, something tapped back. Short, short, short. Long, long, long. Short, short, short. SOS.
What's that
I
mean?
grabbed his
Oh,
hand.
SOS.
"Chris, if that's you, squeeze once." He squeezed so hard my knuckles
God,
cracked.
God.
I stormed into the meeting room and told
Storming
them my
into the
brother
middle
just
room.
responded to me. The caseworker said, "This is very common with families who aren't
No,
ready
not
to let
ready to
go."
get out.
My parents nodded. I grabbed the transfer papers off the table. "You're not signing anything until you come see for yourself." I walked them to Chris's bed and grabbed his hand. "Ask him anything." The caseworker asked what year it was. Chris squeezed out the answer. "Count to 5. 5 perfect squeezes." His mother's name, tapped out letter by letter. By the 10th question, she said, "He's still alive. We can't move him." Weeks later, I asked Chris what kept him fighting when everyone gave up. Heard Mom call me a corpse. Heard Dad say donate my organs.
Yo,
Heard
that's
all of them
so
leave, except you. I asked why. I wanted to see you too. My twin brother.
That's Aura.
The second my mom pulled up to my school, I saw she was mad. And as soon as I opened the car door, she held up
I think this is Chris's point of view.
My report card.
Right.
Are you kidding?
C's. Those are not bad grades. Maybe the D plus, maybe.
Me? Not a single A on here. I tried to tell her I was sorry.
Wait, what's the D plus? D plus is in health and PE. How's health? I mean, I'm not good at PE either. I'm not good at PE, so yeah, I guess you could say.
Kidding me? Not a single
I'm not good
A
at
on here.
PE,
I tried to
so
tell her I was sorry. I tried my best. She threw it at me. Maybe if you
Yeah.
didn't stay up all night tapping that dumb secret code on your brother's wall, you'd actually be able to focus. I felt my heart beat.
Ooh, mom just roasted her own son, man. That's a mean mom, bro. Isn't that? That's like a mean mom. But let's go.
I pulled out my phone to text my brother. Mom's really
Dressing your brother.
mad. I think she might, but she grabbed it from my hand. Always on this stupid phone too. I could see her face.
I would get it if you actually get a D minus. If your mom takes your phone, taking your phone is normal. That's like taking your phone is normal. Taking it's normal. Now like smashing into the floor. I don't really think that's normal in my opinion.
Turning red, but when I looked forward, Mom, watch out. She saw the car too and screamed.
Ooh, so they got in a car crash and I'm gonna think. So we got in a car crash and then Chris went into a coma and I don't know if he was in a coma or not. I don't know what it is, but
It smashed right into
Yep,
us.
I knew
Glass
it.
was everywhere, and I hit
I know it, guys.
my head. I didn't know where I was. I tried to open my eyes.
Oh, I think this is when the coma started, wasn't it? Let's see, you have to go a little more.
Nothing was moving. Then I heard someone. Listen, kid, he's never gonna wake up. No, please, he
It's
has
the doctors. Oh my god, yes, this is his point of view. Let's watch a little more.
to. It was my brother. I tried
Yep,
moving
it's
my
his
hands,
brother.
screaming. Nothing worked. But then, someone tapped my hand. I instantly recognized it. Chris, are you there? I squeezed my
It was
hand as hard
Chris, his brother.
as I could, but it didn't move. But he stood up. See you tomorrow, Chris. I felt a tear roll down my cheek. Someone else came in. We should just pull the plug. I'm not paying for a vegetable. We'll get
What? Who said that? Who said that?
more money from donating anyways. It was my mom. She was talking
Her mom? His mom? That's unacceptable. Man, that is sad, bro. Even their mother wants to give up on him.
about selling me, but I was still here. Jay came back, tapping about his day. I knew I had to warn him. I squeezed my arm. It felt like concrete. Please, anything. They'll kill me. Then it twitched. He gasped. He ran out to grab them. That's just a reflex. No, it's him. You're
No, he actually did. So.
talking to a corpse. That night, I
Talking to a corpse? Damn, bro.
heard my mom. He's gone. We need to pull the plug. I tried to move. Then, my shoulder twitched. My dad screamed. He moved. They were silent. If he wakes up, we get nothing. We need to get that
Bro, they only care about the money. They only care about the money, by the way. They probably only care about the money.
paperwork signed. They ran out, and I knew I didn't have long. I felt someone tap my hand again. Chris,
They're trying to sign it fast.
please
so
wake
they
up.
can
They're gonna
get it
kill you. I
successfully.
squeezed.
Sorry
I
for
needed a
pausing a
miracle.
lot,
Then,
by the
my
way.
fingers moved. I said the first thing I thought of. SOS. Chris, I knew it. He instantly ran out of the room. Guys, he's awake. He's awake. They rushed in. I squeezed their hands. They saw it all. I heard my mom. He's still alive. We can't move him. But I knew what she said.
Bro,
That
they only care about moving him because they want money. I'm sorry for pausing a lot.
night, I tapped it all out to my brother as he wrote it down. He couldn't believe it. Then, when I finally opened my eyes, they gasped. My mom hugged me. Honey, you're alive.
wouldn't
But I
hug
didn't
you.
hug her back.
No,
The
yes,
doors
yes,
opened
yes,
behind
thank
them, and when the cops walked in, my parents looked nervous. What's going on? Can we help you? They were pissed. They slammed them both in handcuffs, and when they looked, Jake was holding up everything
Where's
I
the
said.
CPS
I could barely
agent?
move my arm, but used all my strength to raise my hand. Then my middle finger. The second my
Alright, that was cool. I mean, it wasn't my favorite story video, but it was man.
The flight attendant slipped me a napkin that said, "The pilot isn't who he says he is. Meet me in the back to talk." I knew she
If you
chose to
get
tell me
that,
because of the military.
It's either the flight attendant's room, or it's actually not. What's it called? Not the right flight attendant, or it could be real. The pilot isn't real. I think it's the thing isn't real because it has dog tag things. Yeah.
Terry dog tags around my neck. I folded the napkin and slid it into my pocket, and that's when the captain's voice came over the intercom. Good morning, folks. This is Captain Hopkins, expecting smooth skies to Chicago, but something was wrong. I could feel it in my bones. I waited 2 minutes and casually walked to the back, not knowing what to expect. The flight attendant was there with a man holding up a police badge. The man whispered, "I'm glad you're here. I'm an undercover cop." I knew something was wrong straight away. The flight attendant whispered, "I've flown with Captain Hopkins for 6 years. I don't exactly know what's wrong, but I know that's not Hopkins, and we're flying the wrong way." She showed me the flight map of where we were heading. The plane is heading toward an abandoned airport. I leaned over the map. My body was pumping with adrenaline because it was the perfect place to crash a plane. There's an empty space above the pilot's room. I can climb up and listen to what the pilot and co-pilot are planning through the ceiling. Take my number. If you can tell there's something fishy going on, text me one word. Now. That's the signal to move. And to distract everyone while I climbed above the ceiling, the flight attendant made an announcement on the speakers to tell everyone to keep their seatbelts on. Through the cracks, I could hear 2 men in the pilot's room talking. 15 years ago today, our brother died because of Captain Hopkins. Now we get to crash his plane with him tied up on it while we impersonate him. I texted the undercover cop. Now, the cart slammed into the pilot's room door, and the cop kicked it open. I dropped through the ceiling and tackled the fake pilot out of his seat. The cop pinned the co-pilot to the floor. The flight attendant grabbed the radio. "Mayday, our pilot is gone. We need help landing right now." She looked at me. "Find Hopkins, the actual pilot. He has to be on this plane somewhere." I sprinted to the back of the plane, checking every door. I yanked open the closet next to the bathrooms, and Captain Hopkins was inside with his hands tied and tape across his mouth. I ripped the tape off. "Get me to the controls." He ran to the front and dropped into the pilot's chair. He grabbed the wheel. "Tower, this is the real Captain Hopkins. I'm landing this plane." When we finally landed, the cops dragged the brothers off in handcuffs. The flight attendant came up to me in the aisle. I pulled the napkin out of my pocket and held it up. "You saved 200 lives with this." She smiled and took it back. The flight attendant slipped. My daughter came home crying with an F because her teacher doesn't know what color blood is. The first time I realized something was wrong, Riley came home from school holding out her arm. "Look, Dad, you can see the blue blood in my veins right here." She traced the blue lines under her skin with her finger. I put down my coffee and looked at her. "Actually, sweetheart, that's not true. Blood is always red because of hemoglobin. It's just darker red in your veins." Her face scrunched up, but Mrs. Miller showed us a whole PowerPoint about it. She even had diagrams from a science book. The next morning, I packed my work scrubs in my bag. I'm an ER nurse at Mercy General, and I was working the afternoon shift anyway. I sent Mrs. Miller an email asking if I could do a quick presentation about blood for career day that afternoon. She loved the idea. When I arrived, Mrs. Miller introduced me as Riley's dad who works at the hospital. 28 kids stared up at me from their desks. "I heard you guys learned that blood is blue inside your body," I said. The entire class nodded enthusiastically. Mrs. Miller beamed from her desk in the corner. I pulled out a blood collection tube from my pocket and held it up. "This is what we use to draw blood at the hospital. Notice something. The tube creates a vacuum. No oxygen inside at all." I paused. "When we draw blood with these, it never touches oxygen until we pop the cap off." I showed them photos on my phone of sealed blood tubes. "See? Still red." Mrs. Miller's smile started fading. She shifted in her chair and cleared her throat. A boy raised his hand and pointed to their science textbook. "But our textbook says it's blue." I picked up the book and checked the publication date.
1998? 1998, by the way. 1998. That is old. Holy. That's older than everything, but okay.
1998. Medicine updates pretty fast. We used to think lots of things that turned out to be wrong. Mrs. Miller suddenly stood up from her desk, her hands gripping the edge. "Well, thank you for that interesting presentation, Mr. Johnson, but we need to move on to math now." I nodded and started packing when a girl in the back raised her hand. "So our textbook is wrong?" The class erupted in whispers. Mrs. Miller's jaw clenched and her voice got tight. "The curriculum says..." "Actually," I interrupted, pulling up the state science standards on my phone. I walked over and turned my phone toward her. "The current curriculum specifically mentions this myth as something to correct." She stared at the screen and her eyes narrowed. Her mouth pressed into a thin line and her nostrils flared. "Can I speak with you in the hallway?" The kids watched as we walked out. undermine my authority. Her face was red and her voice was sharp. Now they'll question everything I say. I kept my voice calm. Isn't that exactly what we want them to do? Question things and learn critical thinking? She crossed her arms tightly. I've been teaching for 22 years. I'm not changing my whole curriculum because some nurse thinks he knows better than our textbooks. The next day, I found out Mrs. Miller gave the class a pop quiz. Riley came home crying, her face red and puffy. Her hands were shaking as she handed me a paper with a big red F on it. I took a deep breath and felt my jaw tighten as I looked at the question. What color is blood inside the body? Riley had written red, and Mrs. Miller had marked it wrong. I requested a meeting with Principal Davis and brought printouts of medical textbooks, the state science standards, and Riley's quiz. The principal called in Mrs. Miller and asked her directly, is blood blue inside the body? After a long pause, Mrs. Miller said, it's what the children understand better. I leaned forward in my chair. My daughter is...
If whatever grade this is, if it's college, then never mind, but people call you dumb if you don't know this. If this, it's probably young. If this is elementary school and you go to a different teacher, the teacher will say it's red. 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 Not blue, red. Probably. Unless they didn't update their budget too, like this teacher. But that's crazy.
Crying every morning before school because she's afraid of getting Fs for writing down the truth.
Yeah.
The next day, the
your GPA would be low.
Will replace their science books.
Oh,
now,
yes,
whenever
they
Riley
put
learns
their
something
science
new at
books
school,
there.
she comes home and asks me, Dad, is this actually true, or is it just a Mrs. Miller truth? My daughter came home
That was so funny. Holy, bro.
You call?
Every time we heard a knock on the front door, my dad would yell, stealth mode, and we had 30 seconds to kill every light in the house. My brother and I would race through the rooms, flipping switches, yanking cords, shutting off the TV mid-show, while some guy outside banged on the front door yelling, I know you're in there, buddy. Dad timed us. Once everything was dark, no talking, no moving, no looking out the windows. We'd sit there until Dad did his owl hoot, which meant all clear. Sometimes 5 minutes, sometimes almost an hour. Afterwards, he'd high-five us and go, real ninjas couldn't do better. He told us stealth mode was top secret. Never tell your teachers, your friends, nobody. Other people wouldn't understand. For years, I believed him. When I was 8, I asked Dad why we had to hide so much. He said some annoying guy kept bothering our family, and stealth mode was how we dealt with him. I felt proud we had a secret skill that could outsmart bad guys. By the time I was 10, I heard the voice outside yell something about a bet and $20. I tugged Dad's sleeve and whispered, is the bad guy trying to steal our money? Dad shushed me so hard I flinched. When I was 12, I broke the window rule. Peeked through the blinds and saw a completely normal guy in a polo shirt standing on the porch rubbing his forehead. He didn't look like a criminal. He looked like someone's tired uncle. At 13, I told Dad I was just going to open the door and tell the guy to leave us alone. The color left his face. You absolutely cannot do that. That was the first time stealth mode didn't feel like a game. By 15 or 16, it barely happened anymore. But when it did, Dad would peek through the blinds looking guilty. Mom just shook her head from the couch and muttered something under her breath. I was 17 and home alone when I heard it. I know you're in there. It's been 12 years, man. I opened the front door. The guy nearly fell backwards. Normal-looking dude, middle-aged, holding a crumpled piece of paper. Oh, hi. Is your dad home? I'm his old college roommate. He held up the paper. Your old man bet me $20 Michael Jordan wouldn't win his 6th ring. That was 1998. I've been knocking on his door.
1988 is old. 1998, and it's 2026, bro. Holy, what year is this?
Since he handed me the IOU, both their signatures, right there at the bottom. I left it on the kitchen table. Mom saw it first and laughed so hard she had to hold the counter. Dad picked it up, read it, put it back down, and the first thing out of his mouth was, so now he knows someone's home. Then he turned off the kitchen light and got under the table. We were never in danger. My dad just lost a bet because of the greatest of all time.
Yeah, true. Michael Jackson is though. They have the same initials. I mean, Michael Jordan, Michael Jackson. It's MJ and then MJ for Michael. So, I feel like Michael Jackson would be rare because he's dead and it's hard to get autographs from him. Because I don't think he signed a lot of things in his career. Right?
A man climbed to our school bus with a knife, and the first thing he heard was a slow clap from the back row. Confused, he screamed at our driver, Mrs. Worley, to keep driving and not stop for anyone. A kid leaned forward. Nice ski mask. Did you cut the holes out yourself, or did your mommy help you? The whole bus laughed. He waved the knife around. Shut up and no one gets hurt. Your hand is shaking so hard I can't tell if that's a threat or a dance move. He stepped toward the kid who said it, and 20 voices started talking at once. Oh, he's walking now. Everybody watch out. He spun around trying to find who said said what, but insults were coming from every direction. Bro seriously hijacked a bus with no plan, no getaway car, and a Walmart knife. This is the saddest crime I've ever seen. We wouldn't let him finish a single sentence. Are you robbing us for money? All I have is an EBT card and a bus pass. He pointed his knife at Mrs. Worley, and the whole bus went silent. A kid stood up. You can threaten us all you want, but if you point that thing at Mrs. Worley again, we're gonna have a real different conversation. He laughed nervously and asked what a bunch of kids were going to do about it. A girl said, "We're on the bus to the school for troubled teens. Half of us are here for assault, and the other half won't say why." Mrs. Worley looked at him over her shoulder. "Honey, I've watched these kids make grown men cry over smaller things than pointing a knife at me." He lowered the knife. "Smart choice. She brings us donuts on Fridays. We protect what matters." His face twisted, and he shoved toward the kid with the knife raised. Mrs. Worley pulled over, stood up, and stepped between them. "That's enough now." He grabbed her arm and shoved her into the dashboard. For half a second, the bus was completely silent. Then a kid came over the seats like something feral, and 3 others were right behind him. The guy didn't have time to turn around before someone hit him in the back of the knees, and he went down. The knife skittered under the seats, and kids were on top of him before he could reach for it. Someone had him in a headlock while someone else pinned his arms. A girl sat on his legs and went through his pockets just to add insult to injury. Mrs. Worley pressed the emergency button. "I need police at my location. Tell them there's no rush. The situation is handled." The guy was crying. "Please get off me. I can't breathe." A kid leaned close to his face. "You should have thought about that before you touched Mrs. Worley." When the cops showed up, they found him tied to a seat with shoelaces and snot running down his face.
Guys, that is the end of my video. I'll see you all tomorrow. Bye.